Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi there, and welcome to New Life Live. So glad that you're with us here today. Joining me today, Dr. Alice Benton and Dr. Jim Burns. And guess what? It's your lucky day, Friday the 13th. Isn't it? No, maybe it's not. Maybe I got the wrong day. I think I do. It's Martin Luther King Day. That's what it is. We are celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And, we love Martin Luther King Day because we take that off as a holiday. So we're not really here today. We are celebrating the life of a very, very courageous man who stood up for things that were valuable things, lost his life in the process, and I wish we all had the courage that he had. I mean, really, we need that kind of courage. He was inspirational, and just that phrase, "I have a dream," it has inspired so many people to a different level of existence and what they do. But he really did make a huge, huge difference, and I wish he was around today to see all that has happened. And when we look at racism here in America, there is still racism, but unlike so many other places, we are moving in the right direction. We have made changes, and many of those changes were inspired by his courageous life, and we're thankful for him.
One of the things I love about him is that he wasn't perfect. None of us are perfect, and yet God used his, like you say, Steve, his courage, his boldness, his stand. I've got a 7-year-old grandson who was singing a song, "We Shall Overcome," because they were learning it in class. And I just thought that was a wonderful thing. I have another quote by him, too. It's one of my favorite quotes. It says, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." I wish this in our world today, we would pay more attention to Martin Luther King Jr. on that one.
Absolutely. And any kind of judgment of a person based on color of their skin or background, whatever, it's, we know that that's not right. And we know that if that's an issue with us, we really need to get some help on what we're clinging onto and why we do that, because that isn't honoring of God. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the phones, and I am going to go right here to Kathy from Columbus, Ohio, see what she has to say. Kathy, how are you today, and how could we help?
Hello.
Hi.
How are you? My question is, my husband and I have already been divorced, and I still love him, and I want to try to get back together with him, but he's still drinking. Unfortunately, there was other things that have happened terrible in the marriage, and I just don't know if I'm wasting my time. I mean, he says he's willing to go to counseling, but he says I'll never get back and get married. He said he likes his single life.
Yeah.
So
here's the thing. When somebody has hurt you and they're saying I'm willing to go to counseling versus since I hurt you, I have been in counseling and getting help so that I don't ever do that again. That's two separate things. And when I hear that somebody's willing to go to counseling, I say, man, there is not a lot of hope there if they've done something as seriously wrong as he's done. We'll talk about that after this. You're listening to New Life Live on Martin Luther King Day, and I've got an amazing story to tell you about Marian Anderson and Martin Luther King.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images, and traffic to online porn sites has skyrocketed. Some say that's no big deal, it's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere.
After I found the pornography on the internet, I said, you either get help or I have to leave this household.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle workshop.
I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
The Every Man's Battle workshop is being held online as a one-day event Saturday, February 4th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
Every Man's Battle was a life-changing experience for me and a marriage-saving experience for me.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. We're talking with Kathy, and so they've been divorced 9 years, and he's drinking, and she says he's done some other really crummy things. She still loves him. He says, I'm willing to go to counseling, but I don't ever want to get married again. And she's asking, what should I do? So what do you guys think she should do?
Kathy, I feel so protective of you because what you call hope is keeping you stuck in wishful thinking with little to no evidence to support the wish that he would want marriage and would do the work necessary to become a man healthy, to remarry. And so as the evidence tells you that's not happening, he's not taking action. I want for you to work on releasing that wish. And I would guess there's something historical that keeps the wish as strong as it is when all evidence points to the contrary. Did you lose another prominent figure in your life that you continued to hope would come back?
I think it's because I had an abortion with our fourth child, and I regret it. And maybe I just want my family back and just want to heal.
So, Kathy, thank you for sharing that painful fact. If there is unhealed grief that is just simmering there in your mind and in your soul, and I hear the tearfulness in your voice as you talk about it, that kind of grief fuels the current behavior. And so as you wonder, why can't I let go of my ex-husband? It is so likely that the loss of that child through abortion and other griefs and losses that you have gone through probably make it that much more difficult to accept the reality of what your ex-husband is choosing to do.
Jim, your thoughts here?
I think she nailed it for you, Kathy. I really do. I think, you're talking about two separate things here, but they come together, of course. But, there's a scripture that says you will know them by their fruit, and the fruit of your husband's decisions to continue to not even want to be married, to continue to drink, to continue to do the things that he's doing, that's pretty evident for you. You can still be in love with someone and not, get remarried if you would, okay? I mean, my goodness, you were with him. You've borne his children. You have had this, really tough experience together. But what I would do is I would kind of, as much as you can, I would try to make sure that you deal with, some of the post-abortion pain that you're experiencing, and see how to deal with some of that, and in that healing process, because there is healing. That's the beauty of God's healing and God's presence in your life. It might help you get past what you're stuck with your husband. But again, look at his fruit. I always say that to people. Look at their fruit, and if the fruit is good, then sure, there's some hope. If the fruit isn't good, and no, none is totally bad and none is totally good, right? But in this case, he's telling you, I don't want to get married. So now begin to develop a relationship with him where you are still co-parenting, where you're still in relationship, but it's not the love relationship, so that you can move on, whether that be in another relationship or whether that be, learning to feel comfortable about your own singleness. But I think Alice hit the nail on the head when it comes to deal with some of this other pain that might have been repressed. And before I said this the other day on the air, but before freedom comes pain. Nobody wants to focus on that, but focus on some of this, the pain of your abortion, and then that may free you up to have a better relationship with your family.
And Kathy, when your mind wants to take you into the fantasy of maybe we can reconcile, choose the reality and lament the reality. Remind yourself of it, ground yourself in it. It's painful, but it will lead to greater freedom.
Yes, and I'm going to send you three things. I'm going to send you healing is a choice, and one of the choices is the choice to grieve. I think you have to grieve the loss of him before you can separate yourself from him. I'll send you a Life Recovery Bible with the workbook that takes you through the grieving process by working the steps in that workbook. But you need to use this gift that God has given us, the gift of grief that allows us experience the pain, the anger, the disappointment, and then I don't have to experience the longing that continues on if I haven't fully grieved the loss, so I can accept the reality of what I'm dealing with. We want you to be free. I would also suggest that you join us for emotional freedom for that workshop 21st of January. I think you'll really benefit from it. Thanks for calling us. Well, I want to tell you a story that I love. It's a story about Marian Anderson. Marian Anderson was one of the most fantastic, amazing singers, and she was a black singer, and the New York Philharmonic discovered her and traveled all over the country with her. She had performed in Europe for kings and queens. I'm telling you, this woman was a superstar. And when she traveled with the New York Philharmonic, she had to stay in a separate hotel because they would not let a black woman stay in the hotels where the orchestra stayed. How sad is that? Well, it came time for her to come to Washington, D.C. for a concert, and her promoters wanted to put her in Constitution Hall, owned and operated by the Daughters of the American Revolution, and they said, no, we will not have a black female singer on our stage. Eleanor Roosevelt heard that story, and she said, well, here's what we're going to do, Marian. And this was 1939. She said, we're going to not do this at Constitution Hall. We're going to do it on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And we're going to broadcast this all over the world. And millions of people heard Marian Anderson sing. And one of the numbers that she sang in 1939 was My Country 'Tis of Thee, Sweet Land of Liberty, of Thee I Sing. And there was a little boy glued to his radio who heard that hymn. And he said, it was on that day that I began to dream about a different kind of America. And that little boy was Martin Luther King Jr.
Wow.
Years later, he would be on those same steps giving I Have a Dream speech that has changed so many people's lives. I love the fact that Eleanor Roosevelt was so courageous. I hate the fact that that was not too distant in our past, that an amazing talent like her could be treated like that. But look what God did. And it's one of my favorite stories ever. And you can look it up. You can Google it. Marian Anderson. She was something else.
Steve,
Right,
cowardice
yes.
and sin are contagious, and they multiply. But grace multiplies all the more. So if one courageous person will do the right thing, it will touch other people and draw the courage up out of them. What a great story of that kind of example.
Thank you. And thank you, Martin Luther King and Marian Anderson, Eleanor Roosevelt, and all the others. Okay, let's go to Doreen, Jacksonville, Florida, listening on the podcast. Hi there. How are you? And how could we help today?
Hi. First, I'd like to thank you for taking my call. I appreciate it. And I'm calling today because our family, we're a blended family of 5. My husband has a daughter, and I also have a bio daughter, and then we have one child together. Our older daughters are both 16. They're 3 months apart. Our whole family has struggled with anxiety. I started getting help in 2018, and I've been on a healing journey, and it's been really great. Sorry, my dog. The question that I have is that my older daughter is struggling with depression. This has been like an ongoing battle since 2021. She's been in treatment. She's seen psychiatrists, or currently is seeing one, and therapist. But we're not seeing any progression. She's skipping school, not being honest. She's still self-harming.
How old is she?
She's 16.
Okay.
She's come from a kind of traumatic background. Her mom, living with her mom is also been hard, and she's been through the divorce with her parents. My question is what my husband and I are not unified in how we should help her, and I'm tired because it's been going on so long, and it's affecting my other children now.
So what does he think needs to happen, and what do you think needs to happen?
He really relies on my opinion a lot of the times on what needs to be done, and I've helped out with that. He and his ex-wife kind of work together, but in a way he's in denial of how bad the problem is.
So what does he think should happen, and what do you think should happen?
I don't know what he thinks should happen, but I think that she needs help. I think she needs more structure. I think that that's
okay.
all. I mean, I don't really know.
Okay, so you said she has been on medication. She's seen a psychiatrist. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Is she in a therapeutic process? Is she with a therapist on an ongoing basis, a therapist that she trusts and is helping her, or not?
Yes, she is. She's been seeing this therapist for 2 years almost. But therapy, she's been going to therapy since she was 7.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't like it. She's not, I guess, taking it seriously.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start with you, Alice. What do you think might be a good next step? You've got the disagreement of the two, and you've got somebody not making progress after 2 years. What do you think?
Maureen, you are one of the few parents, sadly the few, who gets intervention so quickly. And this is for your stepdaughter, so thank you for being the advocate for her. And my suspicion is that she is the bearer of the family wounds and the family problems. And because she has the most obvious acting out behavior, the attention goes on fix her, and our family will be better. And so my hope would be that as many adults as are willing get into therapy for themselves and their parenting practices, because her behavior is likely a reaction to what some of the adults in the family have been doing or have been neglecting.
Yeah.
Jim, thoughts?
In a sense, I want to take you back. I want to give a sports analogy. But there's always a plan and a playbook. And in a counseling situation for 2 years, especially when your stepdaughter has been self-harming, experiencing anxiety and depression, there should be a playbook someplace and a plan. and I'm not sure that you and your husband know what that is. And what I would do is I would do exactly what Alice said. I would get together with everybody and find out what that plan is. Now, she's 16. You can do that because you can ask for permission to do that with your stepdaughter. But the way you get unified is to follow the plan, and there has to be a plan, especially with self-harm. They're going to have a plan on how to do this. So get together and get that playbook and whatever it is. And if there isn't a playbook, then you probably need more help on the counseling side.
After 2 years, when someone's not making progress, I say there are two options. It's either more or different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She either needs an addition, like a trauma specialist in addition to this, or she just needs to you need to help her find another counselor that might have a different approach that would help her make progress. Yeah. We'll be back after this.
I'm about 100 pounds overweight. I'm 30 years old, and I'm just really discouraged. I'm scared.
Yeah.
I don't want to fail again.
Does this sound like your story? It doesn't have to. The weight we carry on the outside is often a result of the burdens we carry on the inside. If you want to reduce your inner burden, New Life's Lose It for Life online workshop can help. This online workshop features a one-day Zoom session presented by Steve Arterburn on Saturday, March 18th. Plus breakout sessions led by a credentialed New Life Network counselor. Fitness expert Michelle Spadafora will lead exercise sessions, plus you'll receive exercise gear to allow you to start a home fitness routine you'll actually enjoy. If you're finally ready to stop going from diet to diet and begin a comprehensive plan that addresses the psychological, emotional, and spiritual aspects of a healthy lifestyle, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or go to newlife.com. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back, and really glad that Doreen has called us here. And I've said this before, that I think one of the great gifts that my wife gives to her children is she's a resourcing parent. And any blended family is kind of set up for, in most cases, some difficulty and struggle. And in this case, whether the family was blended or not, this young girl really needs some help, and perhaps it is time to sit down with your husband and maybe even his ex-wife and say, we need to do something different. This isn't fair that we just continue on this same track and she's not responding to it. It's very compassionate, very loving, and it provides some hope where, if you don't do something like that, I don't know that there's much hope on the way that things are going.
Steve,
go ahead.
There's such
Alice?
power in parents being willing to say, your bad behavior must be influenced somehow by me and my parenting. Now, it's not always a direct line, but it's so often the case that when a family comes in for therapy and the child is apparently the problem, but the parents start to work on their character, their maturity, their unresolved issues, the child's behavior often improves. And it's the parental humility that turns the corner.
Right. Well, when people, we're a blended family, and it's a very rare situation because all of the kids, whether they or mine or hers or two that we created together, they love each other. They love being together, and that's kind of the exception rather than the rule. And I used to hear Dr. Laura say, why don't you wait till the kids are out of the house before you get married? And I thought, that's pretty rough. But I got to tell you, it's kind of a good idea. And when people say to me, we're thinking about blending these families, I say to them right off the bat, usually that's a really bad idea. Because the divorce rate for second and third marriages is horrific. And most families that are blended do not survive. I mean, in fact, about 30% do. So when I say it's probably not a good idea, it's true. It isn't. And you've got to really prepare these kids. But she could have had this problem whether she was in a blended family or not. And the main thing is to get the help that she's going to respond to. You have a thought there, Jim? You look so pensive. And
well, I was thinking about your 30%. I was thinking I'm going to go on a flight here pretty quick, and if I said, "Do you want to come with me?" and I said, "There's only a 30% chance we're going to land this puppy." That's not a good. Nobody's going to go on the flight with me, right?
Right.
But there are, and I don't use the word blended family hardly ever anymore in our parenting seminars. I think there's some other, because it's hard, because the husband and the wife fall in love, and then they think, well, the kids that's all supposed to work together, and it doesn't. And in this case, I was thinking, to blend this family right, I think her husband has to come on board. Her husband is the biological father. She is the stepmom. And so I think wherever the biology is, they have to take a larger step in the healing process or in the discipline process. And, I appreciated Doreen, because I appreciated her coming alongside, and she had deep emotion. But I wanted to say to her husband, if he was sitting in the room, I'd want to say, hey, you need to get on board here too and develop a plan where you can be unified. If you're not unified, and again, nobody's going to agree 100% on anything. Kathy and I sure don't. We've been married 48 years. But if you're not unified on that plan to help, and I think you said a very important thing, and I think a lot of people should hear this. After a couple of years, if it's not working, that's a sign that perhaps we need to go to somebody else or actually take it a little deeper. And because of words like depression, anxiety, and self-harm, sometimes it is a little deeper. At 16, sometimes there's some pretty great programs that just deal with those issues. And they may have to take that a step farther if it's not working.
Well, everything you said is true. And this is true. If it's not working, I at least need to be having conversations with the provider to say, what are your thoughts about us not making progress here? Yeah. The provider might say, you know what, this child was so hurt when they were 3 or 4 that I think it's going to be a 3-year process, and we're right on schedule. Well, I might keep it going, But if I don't know anything because I'm not in communication, this dad, that's what is important, what you said, Jim. Dad needs to care more about what's going on than the stepmother. Right. Dad, he needs to get with it. And then she might just respond differently to everything when Dad steps in and says, I want to help. And when Dad step in, it's not like a stormtrooper step in. It's more like a ballet dancer stepping in. It's more like gently coming alongside, showing love, care, kindness, concern, and the daughter will experience that.
Yeah, it's good.
It's kind of a Christ-like love, and has a greater chance of doing something wonderful than if a dad comes in and says, well, this ain't working. What are we going to do here? I'm going to take charge. No, don't do that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to send a copy of Healing is a Choice. I just wish there was some way dad and daughter could sit down and read that together, some way, somehow. And I'll send a copy of Every Believer's Thought Life. And at the break, I'm going to find out which book Jim has that might be really good for them to have, and we're going to send that. And I'll tell you about that when we come back. You're listening to New Life Live.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Jim, we didn't talk about a book that you've written that might be helpful in this situation. What would that book be?
I'm going to focus on the parents. I wrote a book called Confident Parenting, and that's an oxymoron because no one could be a confident parent. But it gives some really good strategies on coming together and being unified. And so I went with that as opposed to a book called Understanding Your Teen, interestingly enough. But it's because of the parenting style that they might need a strategy for parenting.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of strategy, Larry is part of the strategy of New Life to reach people and then help them in the transformation process. Larry, you have brought in a pile. The people that are watching on the New Life Live YouTube channel can see you have a pile of files. What are those?
I've got a pile of files. They are all the different testimonies. I thumb through this every single day I'm on radio. And I've got files from each of the workshop testimonies, from Club New Life members who've written into us, from radio listeners. I got this whole stack of files are different testimonies, and I look through different files every single day.
Well, your thumbs, if you're thumbing through all of that, they must have blisters. They're so
calluses.
Yeah.
But
well, share one with us.
There are a couple that I consider my favorite, and I want to share one of those. My husband and I have attended Every Man's Battle, Women in the Battle, which now is called Restore, Marriage Weekend workshops, Sustained Victory. My husband keeps going to that. Women in the Battle follow-up group, individual therapy for myself with therapists that facilitated my small group. How do I put a price on all this? I can't. I can only contribute in my own small way and continue to pray that New Life will not only survive, but thrive. That the ministry's motivation will always be for the glory of God, and that people as lost and alone as my husband and I were in his sexual addiction will be brought to this ministry. Every Man's Battle, Women in the Battle, Marriage Workshop were made possible with the help of scholarships, for which I will be eternally grateful. The generosity of others took two totally lost people and gave us new life. God's blessings on each and every one of you.
Amen.
So,
I mean, isn't that amazing?
I just love this. And it's hard for me. I'll save the other one for the next time I'm in. It's just, these testimonies just keep going, and new ones come in. And folks, that's why we do what we do. I come in and plead for you to consider making a gift, join Club New Life, things like that. And the only reason is the life change that happens here.
Yeah.
I feel like Tammy Faye right now. I want to start crying.
It's okay. It's okay. We will help you.
You're not wearing any mascara,
Here,
so
Larry,
I think that's going to be okay.
Larry, you know what one of my favorite testimonies is? It was after we had completed the weekend, and this woman was at the microphone at the end, and she said, I came here on a scholarship, and whoever gave that scholarship, you changed my life.
You saved my life.
Oh, you saved my life. And it was such a plea of gratitude. We need to play that sometime. But I'm telling you, the thing that did increase in giving from one year to the next last year was our scholarships. People are giving because they are changed and they want to help other people. And I just love that. Love that.
So thank you, folks, for considering your gifts and for stopping right now what you're doing because you've never given before and thinking this is the time. So we appreciate it.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and a gift of any amount. I will send you, brand new book just out yesterday, Every Believer's Thought Life. And I hope and pray that you'll love the book and you'll love the gift that you give. And we want to say thank you with this brand new book. Thank you, Larry, so much. Okay, how about we go to Harry, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Harry listens on Sirius XM, channel 131, and that's at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Hi there, how are you? Harry.
I'm all right. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, that's good. That's cool. Okay, I've been dealing with pornography at an early age, 13 on up. I'm in my 70s. I've done Celebrate Recovery about 12 years, where I've traveled to anyways. I traveled the country. I was wondering, does the temptations and the lusts ever simmer down? Because I still get them, and I find it challenging, really challenging. So I remember somebody, I was listening to you guys at the, because I started at an early age. I had a distorted view of everything. And I'm curious, I'm still reliving that distorted view as I am right now in my 70s.
Okay, when you started, do you remember what age it actually was?
About 13.
And here's a question. Do you remember what kind of emptiness or struggle or life event had occurred or was occurring around that time?
I'll put it to you this way. My father was not a nice man. If I made a mistake, he rubbed it in. Okay? And he never paid attention to me and my brother. So me and my brother, we got wild and ran the streets, literally, because nobody was there to put us in line or stuff like that. And he was verbally and mentally abusive. So I was looking for a place to hide. I remember to a point of going underneath my covers to hide, try to find another world, something else, because what God promised, which I didn't really pay attention to him back then, but what I know now, what he promised, I wasn't getting.
Yeah. Well, let me just jump in here, and because I want to help you. And here is, you were 13. Your father was so abusive of you, so not the loving man that you wanted and needed, and so it just kind of stands to reason. You guys ran wild. You found pornography, started using it. And when somebody comes to me and they say, I've been trying to get over this pornography thing for a very long time, here's what I say. Let's talk about your anger. Because I've never met a person who continues to struggle with pornography who does not have an anger problem. And many times they're so nice that the anger problem isn't very obvious. But I'm just wondering if you don't need some amazing work done to resolve any kind of hurt and pain you still have over this father that was relentless in his just mistreatment of you and his pressure and just giving you messages about yourself that no parent should ever give to anyone. And I think part of the healing process would be dealing with that. And then I'm going to send you Every Believer's Thought Life, which I know that's going to help you get out of this. But I want to encourage you to go to Every Man's Battle, where all of this can come together and you can stop dealing with this alone and find a band of brothers that can help you. But Jim, Alice, what are you guys thinking when you hear his story and still struggling?
Well, I love the fact that you're still working on it, Harry, it's in your 70s, because some people give up and settle back and it doesn't work for them, and and you're still in Celebrate Recovery. You're doing a lot of good things, and you're calling. Great job. You ask about the whole idea of, does lust ever, can you simmer down? Does that ever, I think was the word you used. And, there's a old story about a guy who was talking to a counselor, and he said, I have this continuing dream, a black cat and a white cat are fighting each other. And the guy says, who wins? And he says, well, whichever one I feed. Right? You've heard that. It's a famous illustration. But the point that I'm saying is that you've got to get the tools to figure out how to not feed that. When you don't feed that and you turn away from it, you don't have as much. Sure, you'll have some of that because from 13. So you got to go to something like Celebrate Recovery and get the help and the support. And you know what? You're going to have a great then 70 years in the 70s. How great for that. So it's never too late.
All right, we'll hear from you after this, Alice, on what you think a person can do who's still struggling so many years not wanting to be involved, but drawn back in every time. You're listening to New Life Live. So glad you are. If you need help, call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Please. Hi, this is Steve Arterburn from New Life Live, and Chris Williams and I are doing the Emotional Freedom Workshop. I don't know of anybody that wouldn't benefit from emotional freedom. We're all bound or stuck or struggling in some area. What are we going to do there, Chris?
Just really help people get clarity around the places where they're stuck in their life. They sort of circle the same mountain of disappointment over and over and over again. You're going to be able to see that mountain clearly and get to a new place of what we call emotional freedom, which is simply I can feel in the world, build a relationship to it, and know what to do with my experiences.
The New Life Emotional Freedom Online Workshop is Saturday, January 21st. Steve Arterburn, Chris Williams, and Dr. Jackie Mack-Harris will present information on trauma, depression, codependency, and more. And small group leaders will help you process the information you learn. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or register online at newlife.com.
Hi, this is Stephen Arterburn from New Life Ministries. We know that Christian counseling changes lives. We hear evidence of that every day.
I feel like I'm a person for the first time in my life. I feel like I wasn't whole before, or that I couldn't enjoy life. I had such a big weight on my shoulders that I had nothing to look forward to. I'm such a better wife, and I'm a better daughter, friend, a better worker. I feel absolutely free.
Our nationwide network of licensed Christian counselors means there is help available near you.
If anybody is considering Christian counseling, then they need to do it. They need to take that step.
You don't have to be stuck where you are, but you can't really expect to change unless you take action. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. It could be the start of a whole new life for you. Christian counseling works, and we can help. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE today. someone who cares is always there at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. We are talking with Harry, and Alice, you had a thought about this with Harry, what his struggle.
Harry, most of the men with whom I've spoken who have gained sexual sobriety do report that there's a diminishing of the frequency of the temptations. But I have encountered some cases where the frequency of temptation stays very high, and it's surprising given all the work that has been done. And I just wanted to clarify, have you been sexually sober for 13 years?
Yes, I've slipped once for a period for a week, and the devil has attacked me big time during that 1 week that I slipped. I slipped, and I had to get God, and I mean, God was into it, but this was totally out of my league. It was just so overcoming. I just couldn't put it to rest.
And apart from
I couldn't put it down there.
Apart from that relapse, you have maintained sexual sobriety. So I want to speak to both the spiritual and the psychiatric, because you know that anger over time, as Steve was pointing out, that's one of the footholds that the enemy can claim on us. And it makes us more vulnerable to his fiery darts that we'll experience our whole life. But if we hold on to resentment, especially justifiable resentment, incomplete forgiveness, or any unholy anger, and we don't work through that, we are more vulnerable to those temptations coming our way. So increasing the level of treatment you're engaging in, Celebrate Recovery, is fabulous. It may be insufficient for all that you have gone through in your life. And so consider adding trauma work to our Every Man's Battle.
All right, I'm glad you called. I'll send you Every Believer's Thought Life. I hope that will help you. And, there's a book that Jill Hubbard wrote, Forgiving Our Fathers and Mothers, and I'm going to send that to you also, because I think that could really help you with that anger piece. And I'm so glad that you called. And I hope and pray one of these days you'll end up over there at Every Man's Battle, and I think you will find some amazing, amazing support, a band of brothers who want to help you, who want to be a part of your recovery process. Our last caller, Liz, Canyon City, Colorado. Hi, Liz. How are you today? And welcome to New Life Live with Dr. Jim Burns and Dr. Alice Benton. Hi there.
Hi. Thank you so much for taking my call. My question is, how do I help my daughter and my granddaughter through the lying that my granddaughter is doing at the current time? She's 13, and she seems to be lying to her parents, especially when it's concerning her friends. When she's not allowed to have her cell phone at night when she's going to bed and at other times. And she's always looking for devious ways to get access to a phone. And she's even starting to get her sister involved by using her kind of as as a camouflage, for lack of a better word.
And the question for us would be, what?
Would be, how do I help my daughter and my granddaughter get through this lying that she's going through?
Okay.
How do I help them get past that?
Okay. Jim, you're the expert on these here young'uns. What do you think about a 13-year-old that doing lots of stuff to be in connection with other friends?
Well, first of all, it sounds to me like she's 13. If you would have said,
I was going to say
Liz,
the same thing.
Really,
absolutely.
If you would have said to me, here's what my granddaughter's doing, and you wouldn't have said the age, I would have said, so what is she, 13, 14? Because a lot of times, kids move from dependence to independence, and in their independence, they color outside the lines. Now, I'm not saying any of that is good, but the style of parenting that we were doing between the ages of, say, 2 to 10 becomes different than the style of parenting we do between 10 and, say, 15. And with that kind of style of parenting means that now it's important for us to develop really other ways of doing discipline, because the way we disciplined our 9-year-old isn't going to be the same as the way we discipline our 13-year-old. But if I was you, your question was how do I help? I think you find some good resources, because there's great resources out there for moms to help, and dads to help them parent a teenager. And really, parenting a teenager is very different. I like to say that you were in control until they're about 10. I mean, it's only semi-control. I'm looking at Alice with all of her kids. But you're sort of still in control. But once they move from 10 to, say, 15, now you're coaching them. I mean, you're still in control, so to speak. But now you're giving them the tools to make better decisions. So obviously there has to be some boundaries. There has to be some expectations, because she's not allowed to lie and she's not allowed to, take the cell phone and all those kind of things. So now you're putting in the abilities. Let's talk about discipline. You're giving your daughter the tools through a resource. You're giving her the tools to discipline the child when that happens, and then actually help with some of the consequences and some of the basic things. This is normal, though, by the way. That's when they color outside the line. So I'm not saying it's good or I'm not saying it's right, but I am saying it's normal. So I would say she probably needs to re-up on the parenting side. A lot of times parents say, I got them through, now that they're teens, I'm either too tired or, I read all those books or whatever it might be. No. Now at 13, it's a different stage. She's going through puberty. She's going through, there's boys out there that weren't as exciting probably when she was, 9. And so today, understand her, your daughter needs to and the father too, understand what's going on. Why does she act the way she acts? And when you do that helpful. If it goes much more south, then I am always a great proponent of counseling too. But part of it is just giving her the resources. This is what to do when she does that.
When you say color outside the lines, Jim, that used to be a pretty simple group of behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And today,
much more
coloring outside the lines is so evil. There's so many, because of social media, phones, internet, there's so many things outside the lines, so many options. And it's really important, I think, that parents absolutely find out what their kids are doing. And I know kids, you take away their phone, they find a burner phone. There must be some burner phone stand up by the high school or something where they're selling these.
Well, there is. It's called the 7-Eleven or the Circle K or CVS or any of them. They're all there.
Yeah. And so it's really important that love accompanies restriction, that respect of that identity of that child also is expressed. Alice, you have a final thought before we have to close out the program?
The allure of social media and FOMO, the fear of missing out, is so strong. It leads to compulsive behavior in our children. So becoming aware of that and only making phones available to the honest kids who are being obedient to their parents. But with lying, as a liar in recovery myself, Liz, lying when it's confronted with grace and empathy of, I've lied too in my life, I've struggled with this too, that can break through when it's combined with discipline for ongoing lying.
Good.
FOMO. There it is.
She's cool and we're not. We didn't use FOMO. Alice used FOMO.
I got the edge here.
Yeah, she's got it.
Very, very good. Well, I hope something we've said there is helpful. And what book do you think would be great for her, Jim, that you have written?
I would love to send her Understanding Your Teen. I love that book.
All right. Okay. If you need help, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. If you can help us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Coming right up, is our Emotional Freedom Workshop. It's going to be a great time with Jackie McHarris and Chris Williams and myself. And it's online, and you could experience freedom.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.